Well, good Saturday morning to you, and welcome to Hardy's for this week's Coach's Corner on this frigid, I'm going to use that word, Saturday morning. Winter has struck, and we're going to have to learn to deal with it because it's not going to get any better over the next few days. As it about -7 this morning as I get the temperature on my phone, and so hopefully if you head outside, make sure you let that vehicle warm up a little bit longer than normal. Maybe leave it warming as I see somebody come into Hardy's here and leave their vehicle running as they keep going here. Let's head back to last night in a game that was heard on K104 and online at KSDMradio.com. The Bronco boys hockey team managed just 7 shots on goal in a 5-0 loss to Hibbing Chisholm. It wasn't for lack of effort, folks. I'll tell you, the Bronco boys, they laid it out on the lines, and they tried to stand up to the faster Blue Jackets, but the Hibbing Blue Jackets losing their #1 goaltender and their #1 hockey player to other levels of hockey. Mike Volstead and I were talking about it on the way home. Where would Hibbing be if they had these 2 players? If they had this veteran goaltender and they had Perinovich as one of the defensemen, where would this team be? Would they be able to challenge Hermantown for the section title? And we seem to think that it would definitely give them a pretty good chance, as this team was fast, well skated, and they won by a final score of 5-0. Junior goaltender Jake Clow had 29 saves in the game. The Broncos are now 0-5, and they'll be in Baudette on Thursday for a 7:30 game with the Bears. Well, I've been working most of the last half hour trying to get the final, how the Bronco boys basketball game ended at the Falls High Gym last night. I'm going to try to give you my best details. If you were there and it's not this way, this is what I'm trying to piece together. The Broncos, with about 4 minutes left in the game, were up by a score of 54-50, and Ely chipped back and got the lead with under 2 minutes remaining, 55-54. Senior Ben Everson made a steal and a layup to give the Broncos a 1-point lead, and the score stood at 56-55. In the last 30 seconds or so, things were crazy. Ely had the ball. The Broncos get a steal or a rebound, and we get a foul. We take the ball in bounce, and Max Olson gets behind the defense, decides not to go for the layup, which is a decision that I like with a 1-point lead. Don't make the layup and give him a chance to tie it with a 3. He tries to get fouled. Ely steals it with about 3.5 seconds left, and Ely sets up a play, gets a 3-point shot off at the buzzer, but the Broncos come away with a 56-55 victory. The Falls actually trailed 34-32 at the half. Everson led the way with 21 points, while Tanner Budrus and Wyatt Brock each had 10, as the Broncos start their season 2-1, 3 games this week in 4 days. Good start for the Bronco boys basketball team. They're now off till next weekend, when they travel to Eveleth on Friday and they host Virginia on Saturday. The Rainy River women's basketball team dropped to 0-5 on the season with an 81-69 defeat at the hands of Western Tech. Cassie Tomzak, former Bronco, huge night. She made 7 3-pointers while scoring 27 points to lead the Voyagers. Also in double figures was Janelle Pierre-Louis with 12 and Tashiara Shefdal with 10. The Voyager women play at Rochester at 1 o'clock this afternoon. The Rainy River men improved to 5-0. What a great start to their season with a 95-89 win over Western Tech. 5 players in double figures for the Voyagers, led by Devarius Wright, who had a double-double of 19 points and 11 rebounds. Javante Nash with 17, Ray McCullough with 15, Royston Watts a dozen, and Jean-Paul Shafino with 11. The Rainy River men are also at Rochester this afternoon for a 3 o'clock game. The Fort Francis Lakers scored in the first period last night. Thief River Falls scored the only goal in the second period, and then the Lakers blew the game wide open in the third period as they scored 5 times to win 6-1 at home in the first game of the home-and-home series with Thief River Falls. Jack Burney lit the lamp twice, while Ian Jarvis, Jared Burton, Tyler Melpass, and Brandon Zayacek each scored once. Brandon Barnard saved 32 of the 33 shots he faced. The 2 teams play again tonight in Thief River Falls at 7:30. In other high school games last night, let's head that way. Let's start with boys basketball. That's on the top of my score sheet here. Superior downs Proctor 60-53. Proctor is going to be a good team. Chisholm, who the Broncos beat on Tuesday night, down Northeast Range 70-57. Deer River all over Nashwauk 82-24. Virginia, who comes to town, just mentioned that a moment go. They defeated Greenway 75-40. Barnum loses to Moose Lake Willow River in the battle of teams that are just 6 miles apart. Always a contentious battle there. 51-42. Moose Lake Willow River downs Barnum. Southridge 61-32 better than Cherry. Northwood 77-40 over Fond du Lac. And Pine River Bacchus defeats North Home Kellier 68-54. In boys hockey last night, Proctor defeats Lake of the Woods 3-1. The Bronco boys hockey team will be in Proctor tonight, and I made a mistake when I typed that this morning. Broncos boys hockey game is not getting next game is not next Thursday. It's tonight, as they'll be in Proctor. What a grave error that was, folks. They'll be down there to take on the Proctor Rails. Roseau loses to Grand Rapids 6-3. South St. Paul downs Evelyn Gilbert 6-4. War Road 7-1 over Virginia MIB. Virginia MIB led that game 1-0, and then War Road scored 6 times in the second period. And Greenway, Nashua, Keewatin just throttled Sauk Rapids Rice by a score of 9-1. A couple of girls basketball scores from last night. Virginia, who the Bronco girls play tonight, they defeat Hinkley Finlayson 66-16. Evelyn Gilbert 55-20 over Greenway. Cloquet 62, Crosby Arrington 44, and Two Harbors 62-35 over Cook County. In college hockey last night, the University of Minnesota Golden Gophers get a 4-2 win over Michigan State. Wisconsin downs Michigan 7-4 in the Big Ten. In the NCHC, number 1 versus number 2 last night. Number 1 UND goes to number 2 Denver, and Denver wins by a final score of 4-3. Colorado College and Miami skate to a 1-1 tie. Then Miami wins in the shootout. Omaha wins over St. Cloud State in St. Cloud 3-1, and Western Michigan gets defeated by North Dakota by its final of 5-1. Bemidji State and Lake Superior State skate to a 1-1 tie in the WCHA, and Mankato loses to Ferris State 3-0. And in the Battle of Alaska, I just had to say they're playing for the Governor's Cup. Alaska takes down Alaska Anchorage defeats Alaska 3-2. In women's hockey last night, UMD over Mankato 3-0. Number 1 Wisconsin 7-0 over Ohio State. Minnesota 5-1 over Boston University in a non-conference matchup, and Bemidji State defeats IRT 3-1 in women's hockey. Gopher men's basketball last night, they absolutely routed Georgia Southern 86-49, and well they should. If you're sitting out there thinking the same thing I am, the Gophers improved to 9-1. Dupree McGrayer scored 18, Akeem Springs 16, and Nate Mason had 14 in the Gophers win. In NCAA volleyball action last night, the number 2 ranked University of Minnesota volleyball team defeated Missouri in 4 sets to advance to tonight's Elite 8 in the NCAA tournament. The Golden Gophers lost in the national semifinals last year, and they're just 1 step from making it back there. With a win tonight, they'd be headed back to the Final Four. Minnesota will face UCLA, who's the number 10 overall seed. They defeated North Carolina in 4 sets last night. You can see the Gopher match tonight if you're a volleyball fan. That all 4 Elite 8 matches are on ESPNU today, starting at 3 o'clock, and they'll run them back to back to back to back. The Gophers game is supposed to start at 9 o'clock. TV will push that around a little bit. You might see it later than 9 o'clock. Awfully late to be starting a game, but that is what is happening. The Big Ten is well represented in the Final 8. Number 1 Nebraska, they're at home taking on Washington at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Number 3 Wisconsin hosts Stanford at 5 o'clock, and then number 4 Texas is at home against Creighton at 7 o'clock. The Minnesota Wild needed a 6-round shootout to defeat the Pacific Division leading Edmonton Oilers by a final score of 3-2. Matt Dumba and Jason Zucker scored in regulation, and Jason Palmaville, Chris Stewart, and Eric Stahl scored in the shootout for the home team. The Wild have now won 3 in a row, 2 of those wins against Edmonton, and will be back on home ice on Sunday evening at 5 o'clock as they will play Central Division rival St. Louis. Pregame at 4:45 and drop of the puck, as I mentioned, at 5 o'clock on KGHS, 12:30 a.m. The T-Wolves got crushed at home last night, 117-90 by the Detroit Pistons. Andrew Wiggins, 16 points. Karl Anthony Towns, another double-double of 14 points and 12 rebounds. The Wolves have lost 7 of 8. It doesn't get any easier on Sunday, folks. They host Golden State at 6 o'clock. What's going on around the area locally today is I screwed it already up, but I'll make my correction for the second time. Bronco boys hockey, they're at Proctor for a 7:30 game. The girls basketball team is in Virginia for a 7:15 matchup. The Rainy River basketball teams 1 and 3 o'clock at Rochester, and the Port Francis Lakers are at Thief River Falls at 7:30. College football today, Army versus Navy, always a big matchup, and why not the 2 services getting together. That game's at 2 o'clock on CBS. FCS football, number 1, North Dakota State. They host number 8 seeded South Dakota State at 11 o'clock on ESPN. Don't forget the only loss that North Dakota State suffered this year, a 19-17 loss to South Dakota State. So the rematch there, it ought to be a great battle. And again, that game starts at 11 a.m. on ESPN. Heisman Trophy will be given out tonight. Tomorrow afternoon, the Vikings look to right the ship. Is that maybe the right way to say it? Getting going in the right direction. They are in Jacksonville to take on the 2-10 Jags. That game's at noon. You can listen to the pregame starting at 11 a.m. on K104. In the NFC North, also Chicago is at Detroit at noon, and the Packers are hosting the Seattle Seahawks. That game is at 3:25. Already mentioned the Wild tomorrow at 5 o'clock and the T-Wolves at 6 o'clock. We're going to take a break, and we'll come back, and we are going to talk Bronco wrestling. You're listening to Coach's Corner. And welcome back to Coach's Corner here live from Hardy's on this cold Saturday morning. And as I mentioned earlier, it's supposed to get colder. And this is part of what can I say? It's part of live radio. We've got a set of guests that didn't show up. So what we're going to do here is we're going to maybe change our format a little bit. We'll talk about the week that was, and then we'll talk about what's coming up this coming week, and then we'll see if we can reorder things. And maybe if you're listening out there, Bronco swimmers, boys swimmers and divers. I don't know if Coach and you had a miscommunication, but we were supposed to chat this morning. And anyway, if you're listening, come on down. We'll get you on. That's the hope here. As we'll hopefully have a chance to talk to the Bronco swimmers, and we will talk Bronco wrestling, but we'll do that in our next segment. Let's go back to last Saturday. On Saturday afternoon, the Bronco girls hockey team were in Park of Cottage Grove, playing Park of Cottage Grove in the cities. They lose by a final score of 4-1. Lexi Erickson had the only goal in that game, and Macy Marcotte had 19 saves in goal. The Bronco bowling team was also taking part. It was in the cities taking part in the state bowling tournament. They were in a pool with Owatonna, Winona, Detroit Lakes, Fergus Falls, and Totino Grace. The Broncos were unable to win any of the matches against those 5 teams, but a great season nonetheless for those boys as they make it to the state tournament. The Rainy River basketball teams were back on the floor against Ridgewater on Saturday afternoon. The women lost 64-54. Cassie Tomzak led the scoring with 17, followed by Valon Mobley with 13 and Tashiara Shefdal with 10. The men also played Ridgewater. They trailed 42-37 at half, but they scored 55 points in the second half, and they rallied for a 92-88 win. Ira Johnson scored 30 to lead the Voyagers. Javante Nash had a double-double of 13 and 10, and Devarius Wright and Mike Miller Jr. each had 14. London Rasmussen wrestled in the 160-pound weight class, and lost 3 matches in Boston last Saturday. Nick Hedke won 2 matches and lost 2 matches, and was eliminated in the wrestlebacks as well in the 195-pound weight class. We'll talk to Nick here in a few moments. The Fort Frances Lakers were defeated by Thief River Falls 3-2 as they continue to play this weekend. On Monday, the International Falls girls basketball team had their first home game of the season. The Broncos broke open the game and led 43-17 at the half, and they played their bench a whole ton in the second half as they defeated Chisholm 71-33. Emma Gilbert led the way with 18 points, Jenna Sullivan 15, and Grace Gilbert added 11. The International Falls Bronco boys basketball team had their first game of the season on Tuesday at Chisholm, and the game heard on K104 and KSDMradio.com. The Broncos trailed just once in the game. That was at 7-5, and the Broncos led 28-21 at the half, broke it open to a 15-point lead, but Chisholm would cut it to 5, but the Broncos responded, and they get a 77-65 win. There were 23 three-pointers made in this basketball game, folks. It was long distance, and they shot it well. Ben Everson made 7 in that game. That ties a school record with 3 other players. Hadn't been done since the 04-05 season by Tyler Koscheck. Chisholm made 13 of those threes, 7 of them by Eli Sundquist. Everson ended up scoring 30 in that game. Shel Fogelberg had a dozen, and Max Olson and Wyatt Brott each had 10. The Little Fork Big Falls Viking boys basketball team trailed by 8 at halftime at Lake of the Woods, and they lose by a final of 55-38. The Viking girls basketball team, they went to Nashwauk and defeated NK 58-38. Kaylee Kennedy, big news here. She scores 25. That's not the big news. The big news is she's now the all-time leading scorer at LBF, boys or girls, as she has 1,930 points. Bronco girls hockey team fell behind early at Hibbing Chisholm on Tuesday. They fought back. They took the lead early in the second period at 3-1. Hibbing scored twice late in the second period to tie it at 3. No scoring in the third, and then Hibbing Chisholm scores a power play goal in overtime to down the Broncos 4-3. Marissa Carey, Amber Thielander, and Gina Oren each scored for the Broncos on Tuesday. The game at Bronco Arena on Tuesday night between the Falls and Eveleth Gilbert was a back and forth affair. Eveleth led 2-0. The Broncos led 3-2. Eveleth led 4-3. The Broncos tied it at 4. And then Eveleth would get the game winner with about 6 minutes left and defeat the Broncos 5-4. The Broncos outshoot the Golden Bears 51-23 in the game. Scoring goals, Kane Koshik had a pair, Ethan Allman scored once, and Brady Wright also scored. The Rainy River women's basketball team hosted Hibbing in a non-conference game on Tuesday night. The Cardinals started fast and they never looked back as they defeated Rainy River 90-75. Milan Mobley had 21, Kelsey Tischler 20, Tashiara Sheftel 18, and Cassie Tomzak 10. The Fort Francis Lakers on Wednesday were in Dryden and they lost by a final score of 7-2. On Thursday, the Bronco boys basketball team had their second game of the week. They were in Esco against the number 5th ranked team in Class 2A. The Broncos showed themselves very well. They trailed by 5 at half. They end up losing by a final score of 67-41. Max Olson led the way with 9 points. The LBF girls basketball team, they were in Mount Iron to take on the number 1 team in the state, and the Rangers showed why they are the number 1 team as they downed Little Fort Big Fells 86-15. Girls hockey team went to Duluth Marshall. Got an early 2-1 lead. If you've heard this story before, they led 2-1 on goals by Claire Palm and Lexi Edwards. The next 5 goals would be scored by Duluth Marshall, and Amber Thielander would score in the final minute for the final margin of 6-3. What's coming up over this next coming week here? Well, it's going to be a quiet Monday, which is okay to get everything caught up because the rest of the week is pure chaos. On Tuesday night, the girls basketball team, they host Big Fork. Now, if you're thinking, oh, it's just Big Fork, you're wrong. Big Fork has got a quality team. It's going to be a heck of a game. If you're not doing anything else on Tuesday night, come out to the Falls Eye Gym at 7:15. Hey, if you can't be there, I'll be there. You can listen to K104 and KSDNradio.com. The Little Fork boys basketball team, LBF boys basketball team will be at MIB on Tuesday. The girls Vikings basketball team, they will be hosting War Road, and the wrestlers will be in Nashrock on Tuesday. Rainy River basketball, women's basketball, they have a non-conference matchup with Mesabi Range at 6:30 on Wednesday night and Thursday. Bronco boys hockey at Lake of the Woods, and both Little Fork basketball teams are in action. The boys host Greenway, and the girls go to Greenway. On Friday, the Rainy River women's and men's basketball team head to Brainerd for a 2-day tournament down there. The girls hockey team is at home against Duluth. We'll have that game for you on K104. Bronco boys basketball team heads to Eveleth Gilbert. The girls basketball team is in Bemidji. And then on Saturday, the Bronco boys at home against Virginia. We'll have that one for you on the air as well. The Bronco boys hockey team will be hosting Kitson Central at 3 o'clock, and the Lakers have a pair of games at home next week as they will be hosting Minnesota and English River on Friday and Saturday. We'll take another break and we'll come back and we'll talk to Nick Hetke and we'll get all up to date on Bronco wrestling. You're listening to Coach's Corner. Well, welcome back to Coach's Corner. I'm joined by Nick Hetke of the Bronco wrestling team. And Nick, it seems like every winter you and I get a chance to sit down a couple times and talk about the wrestling program. So let's talk about last week. You head down to Fosston. You and London Rasmussen, the only wrestlers that went, I believe. You and Mike Holden, correct?
Yep, that was just 3 of us.
And talk about 4 matches wrestled, 2 wins, 2 losses. Talk about how the day went, whether that was good, bad, or otherwise.
Well, I wrestled at 195, and that was a really tough weight bracket. If I would have gone up to 220, I definitely could have placed well in that. If I would have gotten down to 182, I could have placed well in that, but 195 was really tough. First couple matches, my first match was pretty tough. I'd beat the kid before, but it just came down to the last 30 seconds and he got me. And the next matches were all tough matches. I ended up losing 2 and losing out.
So You talk about the weight classes. It seems strange to me, and maybe to the people listening as well, that if you're wrestling at 195 and now you try to wrestle up to 220 pounds, you feel even at this weight you could have done well. That doesn't seem to make sense. Can a smaller guy in wrestling wrestle up at the heavyweights or wherever, even if you were, let's say, 150 pounds and you want to wrestle up at whatever the weight classes, because they all seem to be different at all the age levels, but if you wrestled up a couple of weight classes, can a guy smaller make the advantage there because of his quickness, or what's the reason there?
Yeah, well, if I would have wrestled at 220, I looked at the bracket and I had beaten in previous years, 3-4 of them. So, and now I'm a lot quicker than them. I'm 20 pounds lighter. They got a little weight on me, but I'm a lot faster than them, hopefully. And it all depends. You can wrestle up, however far you really want. Sure. There's limits for like heavyweight and stuff, but yeah.
So this is the senior year. You've been building towards this. You've been wrestling for, well, basically your entire life. I assume pretty close to that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much. So this is kind of the culmination, because probably after this winter you don't wrestle anymore, right?
Probably not.
So this what does that mean for you going into this season? Does it put any more pressure on, or is it something that you relish and you enjoy because it is going to be your last time? What are your feelings about that, about this final season?
It hasn't impacted me yet. I know towards the end of the season it'll feel like it's really coming to an end, but right now I'm not really worrying about the senior year because just want to wrestle, and I'm trying a lot of new things this year, and hopefully going to have a good year.
We talked, we've talked earlier about wrestling at 182 or wrestling at 195. Where would you like to wrestle? What would be, in your mind, what's the ideal place to wrestle?
After Christmas, I'd like to be wrestling at 182.
So how much weight are you looking in? Then obviously always tough at the Christmas holiday season to take weight off, but how much weight are we looking that you got to get down to?
8 or 9 pounds, so not much really.
Not much. A lot of people would like to lose 8 or 9 pounds, and they can say that was a good.
Yeah,
anyway, and you're going to try to lose it over Christmas, which I'm sure you know how to do safely. I'm sure you've done plenty of times before, so it's not a big deal. 182, you'd like to wrestle there. What does that do for your chances come section time? Is that the weight class that you want to be in to give yourself the best chance to place as high and possibly make it to the state meet as a senior?
Yeah, well, so far this year the 182 is looking pretty light. I think last year it was pretty strong, and a lot of guys moved either to 170 or to 195 to kind of escape, 182 being a tough bracket. And a bunch of guys went to them 2 weight classes, so now 182 is pretty empty.
Do you think that they'll look at that they've gone to 170 or 195 and look just like you have at 182 and say, geez, I could put the weight back on, or I could take the weight back off and go wrestle at that and see if I take my chances going back to that weight?
Yeah, I think some guys are thinking about the same thing I am, but you just have to see towards the end of the year, a month or so before sections to see where I want to go. Hopefully I'll be able to go down to 182, because last year at sections I was pretty light. I could have probably gone to state at 182, but it just happens.
Let's talk about the other wrestlers on the team. Talk about the kids that are at practice and trying to get ready. I know there's a few injuries that you're trying to get through and try to get some more wrestlers, but talk about the other kids on the team.
We got London Rasmussen. He's going to be wrestling at 160 this year. He's a freshman. Yep. And he's really strong. He's my practice partner, and I think the lightest he can go is 160. So he'll hopefully own that weight bracket. He had a tough first meet. He wrestled a couple seniors, I think, and they just beat him with experience. And
you can't get that without going through all of it, right?
No, yeah, you gotta. Even if you're stronger, if you got just a little bit more experience, you can beat him. Then we got Noah Mathis. He's a second-year wrestler, as a freshman. Hopefully he'll, be able to place well at sections. Hopefully he had some issues, so he couldn't wrestle these first couple meets. Hopefully he'll be wrestling at 145 or 152. I'm not sure what his
Okay.
ideas are this year.
Sure.
And then Levi Cottrell, he has a broken arm. I'm not sure when he'll be able to get back.
With the cast on, can he still come in and do the cardio stuff and everything else? Has he had practices?
No, he hasn't been at practice yet. Hopefully he'll be able to get in and get weight certified so he can hopefully wrestle later on in the season.
Okay.
And that's about it for the team this year.
So expectations. Like I said, you talk about your weight class. Where for you personally do you see yourself? Give me the ideal weight it is, and what you see happening come late February, mid-February, with the individual section meet. And do you know where it's at this year?
It's at Cass Lake.
At Cass Lake. I did talk to Pete about that, and I thought that's where it is. So talk a little bit about your aspirations for the season.
Well, I really hope to place first or second at sections. It'd be really nice. Finally get to state my senior year. I think at 182 I could definitely do it. I don't think it'd be difficult, but it'd be a lot easier than 195. London, I think one of his goals are to go to state. So I think at 160 he can definitely pull out a first or second place finish.
Have you been down to watch the state wrestling meet?
No, I've never been there to watch it.
Did you ever talk to Mr. Schenecker about going to the state meet?
No.
He has some wild stories, and I've never been to the state wrestling meet, but the way he describes it, he makes me want to go just down to watch. Not even if you made it or somebody else, it's a spectacle that he said you have to go see, and it's at the tough time of the year because of course we've got girls basketball or boys basketball playoffs, and so it's tough to make it down and whatever else. But it would be, I kind of want to know if you'd ever been down, just because there's 8 mats going on. There's there's people screaming from the top rows of XL Energy Center trying to get their kid to get a win. So I can't imagine the excitement for me. I would have to go down to watch it. I would have to be there to witness it, to talk about that. So what would it be like for you to get to wrestle at the XL Energy Center?
I think it'd be really cool and a good cap to the senior year. I've never been down there. It sounds like a lot of fun, and it'd just be me and Pete in London, but it'd still be fun.
Still would be fun. Future plans. What's happening after your senior year? You got it all figured out. You got it all in here, and this is what I'm doing after I graduate from FHS. I'm going to do this. I'm looking at military, enlist in the military. Not right away. I think I'm going to take the summer to work and really think about it, or possibly a tech college like a welding millwright program or something like that. All good choices. All very good choices. Nick, I wish you best of luck this season. Hope you find that right weight class to get your dreams to come true and get a chance to get to the state wrestling day. Thank you for coming.
All right, thanks.
Nick Hedke joining me here this morning. We'll take a break and we'll come back with our final segment. You're listening to Coach's Corner. Welcome back to Hardy's for our final segment. My off call to the Bronco boys swimming and diving team to no avail. We will not have them. Hopefully we can have them on next week. We'll reschedule them for next Saturday. Hopefully we'll have a chance to talk about the season. They did have their first meet, their first scrimmage actually of the season, as they were in Hibbing on Thursday. So hopefully next week then we'll have a chance to talk to them and everything that is going on with the Bronco boys and swimming and Bronco boys swimming and diving team. I just want to remind you that next week, of course, we've got 3 broadcasts for you on the air. Tuesday night we'll have Bronco girls basketball as they host Big Fork. On Friday we'll have Bronco girls hockey as they host the Duluth Stars, the combination of Duluth East and Duluth Denfeld. And then on Saturday we'll have for sure Bronco boys basketball at 7:15. We might add in the Bronco boys hockey game depending upon how things go next Saturday afternoon as they host Kitchen Central. We're still in discussions on doing that. The following week, the Bronco boys basketball team will be will be in Little Fork Big Falls. We'll have that game for you on Tuesday the 20th, and then of course we've got the big border battle, the boys hockey game between the Muskies and the Broncos. That game on Friday Friday, December 23rd, right before the holidays there. And then after the holidays, it'll be a very busy time. We'll actually have 4 games on the air for you during the holiday break from school, as we have 2 girls hockey games on, as they will be down in the Twin Cities for the Schwantz Cup. I'll be down there for a Monday afternoon game at 2:30 as they play St. Cloud, and then the Tuesday game will also be on the air, and we're not sure who they're playing, obviously, as it is an 8-team tournament, but we'll have that game for you on Tuesday. We'll take Wednesday off. Thursday we'll have the Bronco girls basketball team, as they will be playing the Little Fork Big Falls Vikings on Thursday the 29th, and then on the 30th we'll have the Bronco boys hockey game. It has become tradition on that last game of the War Road Holiday Tournament, as they take on War Road at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and we'll be picking up a feed from the War Road radio station as we've done for the past few years. So that's kind of a look at the schedule for the next 3 weeks. We'll have 3 games on the air this coming week, 2 the following week, and then 4 the last week of 2016. And of course, speaking of the end of 2016, next week we'll have Coach's Corner. We'll take Christmas Eve off. I hope everybody understands that. But I will be back for New Year's Eve Day. We'll have a show. Of course, we'll have our wrap-up of 2016 as has become tradition. I'll have my year in review as one of the segments. I don't know who the other guests will be, but we'll get you caught up all on the whole week of sports, and it will be a busy one. And obviously that time of the year also we'll be talking about the college football playoffs and everything else. That's going to wrap it up here from Hardy's this morning. I want to thank Aaron back at the station for pushing all the buttons. I want to thank Nick Headkey, for coming in and joining me here and talking about Bronco wrestling. I want to thank everybody here at Hardy's, Dave and his entire staff, for taking care of our guests. But most of all, I want to thank you for listening to Coach's Corner, live from Hardy's on K104 and online at KSDM Radio.